Welcome to the Engrafted Word, with a mandate to go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature, making disciples of all men, teaching them to obey everything Jesus has commanded, preaching righteousness, holiness, and the pursuit of consecration, without which no man shall see the Lord. Presented by Engrafted Word Church. And now, Pastor Christopher McMichael.
He gives us permission or he doesn't. And some of you are deluded thinking you should just chase your dream. God doesn't have to bless your dream. Your life may be miserable because you're living an unlawful, unsanctioned dream. It's dry out there. It's hard out there. Nothing works out there. There's no money out there because you're living unsanctioned. Doing your own thing, the American way. God isn't blessing this nation like he used to. But then again, the nation isn't as Christian as it once was. We're just still coasting off of the old blessing. So whether we live unto the Lord, and whether we die unto the Lord. Whether we live, therefore, or die, we are the Lord's. Pretty good message. How about Luke 17, verse 8? I'll read it to you out of the New Living Translation. This one you're not going to like either. Maybe we just call this the House of Un-American Scriptures Committee. Luke 17, verse 8. I'll read it to you out of the New Living Translation because it reads very indicting. Does the master thank the servant for doing what he was told to do? Of course not. Jesus talking to his disciples. In the same way, when you obey me, you should say, we are unworthy servants who have simply done our duty. I love the bluntness of our Lord. You can see him at the campfire. Likewise, boys, when you have obeyed what I told you to do, you should say, we are unworthy servants. We have simply done our duty. It's a simple, mere duty to obey God and what he commands us to do. And we have to switch our culture, our home culture, especially for those of us raising kids at home, to teach them we submit. This whole little series here has been about submission. We submit everything to God. We submit everything to the leadership in our life. The person I fear for the most is a person who has no leadership in their life. Leadership is not constricting. Leadership is liberating. Leadership is freeing because they're in a place ordained of God, and if you want to get there, you got to submit to them. The more places you're submitted, the more influence you'll have. The more places you're submitted, the more avenues God can bless you in. The less you're submitted, the less blessing God can bring you, because all this authority is ordained of God, and they're all different seats and powers of authority, and the way you obtain authority is by submitting to it. If you have no place of submission, you have no place for promotion. The homeless man is submitted to nobody except the occasional cop who comes and says, you can't sleep under this bridge or you can't sleep behind Walmart. All he can do is submit to that and he moves along. He has no avenue for promotion. If the homeless man will come and find an avenue of promotion, an avenue of authority and submit himself, the Lord himself will begin to raise him up. Our nation has been taught by the spirit of Antichrist, rebel against anything and everything, because who are they to tell you what to do? And we have a whole generation of socially inbred morons who just can't even function. They don't even know whether to squat or stand to pee. And it's the spirit of Antichrist because they refuse to submit to anything and everything. So I'm jumping around. My notes are not proving to be of any value in order. Let me find this quote I have. Christians try to live for God by the world's rules of self-preservation and self-promotion with dismal results. This is my quote. I'm about to get to Dr. Barclay's quote. Christians try to live for God by the world's rules of self-preservation and self-promotion with dismal results. We cannot serve God by the world's methods. That's us bringing the world into the church. That is us wishing upon a star, commanding Jesus to bless it and expecting him to promote us. Now, this concept was inspired by something Dr. Barclay said. I was with him one time, and he was correcting a son in the faith who was flirting with all the seeker-friendly techniques. We know what that is, right? Where you dress down, dumb down, dial down. You make the church look like a nightclub. Everything is very secular, very trendy. There's no reverence, no sanctity. There is no, quote, sanctuary anymore. Everything's a blending of the secular and the profane, right? So he said this as preacher, you're too clean a preacher for seeker-friendly techniques to work for you. He said, you'll only shrink your church. You're too clean a preacher for seeker-friendly techniques to work for you. Selah. Pause. Think about that. And you guys are too trained a Christian for the American spirit to actually promote your life. You're too trained, too disciplined, too discipled to live like the American and expect God to honor it. You're going to have to do things by God's terms, which means submission is a basic to you. It's just easy. It means that you're looking for the boss that you can pull yourself under and serve. You're looking for the professor who's over your department that you can pull yourself under and honor. And you're looking for the law enforcement officer who you can honor. Some of you still got a chip on your shoulder with cops because you drank from the BLM Kool-Aid. It's fiery, but mostly peaceful. It might do your heart good to send a bunch of Subway sandwiches over to our police station just to honor them. Do you know we got black cops now? What? It's not even really a black town. We got black cops. I wonder if they arrest a meth head, if that's racist. Our cops have to do defensive training techniques. Do you know why? Because we have sinners in town who want to fight back. Because drugs and methamphetamines make people stupid and violent. And they have to train not just jujitsu, but jujitsu with guns, because that's how they're going to encounter people. And what techniques do and don't work when you have weapons on you that could be grabbed and used against you. So I don't know, if a black cop arrests a white meth head, is that racism? Should we burn Cookville to the ground over it? No, that's retarded. You ought to find areas of submission in your life where you're rebellious and just pull yourself under them. If you're grown but you're single, you should be submitted somewhere. And when you're at home, it's easy. It's mom and dad. That's your chain of command. It's the teacher. That's your chain of command. It's coach. That's your chain of command. And if we could practice submission in all these areas, we'd start to see promotion. And by practicing fellowship, you'd be trained for leadership. And that becomes a promotable degree, a promotable skill set. But you'll never be a leader if you never learn how to follow. So you can see how the enemy's really smart in working to teach us to be lawless and unsubmitted, because that way we never learn how to be leaders. We're always being horrible followers, and yet we all think we should be leaders and someone should be following us. But if you ever want to be a leader, when you refuse to be a follower, you're a hypocrite, because in order to be a follower, you got to submit to the fact that there is a leader somewhere. If you've never been a successful follower, I don't think you should ever be trusted as a leader. All right, so let's read through some of these things here. Anytime we touch on the race thing, people get a little uncomfortable and antsy, but it just is what it is. The Greek definition for the word submission, hupotasso is the Greek word, not that it matters. It means to arrange, it's a military term. Our Greek New Testament word for submission is a military term. That should tell you how serious this is right out of the gate. To arrange troop divisions in a military fashion under the command of a leader. So when we're submitted, we're arranged under a superior. Organized. If you're not organized under your leader, you're not truly submitted. A lot of Christians, if we use, I like to use a ski boat example. I used to do a lot of water skiing. A lot of Christians, they'll kind of follow behind the leader like a ski boat. They'll let the leader pull them along, but they want to ski in and out of the wake, right? This says, no, you just stay behind them, in order behind them. And honestly, if you've ever wakeboarded or slalom skied, it's safest in the wake, because when you come back and forth, you have to navigate the wake. And that's where people always biff. Come over and they catch an edge and smack. We used to do videos of that in high school. Our high school youth leader had a Malibu skier, and we did a lot of stuff on the lakes of Washington State. We always, somebody was rich. This is the early 90s. They had the big camcorder. Remember those? The battery lasted 30 minutes. It was the size of a car battery. Not really, but almost. And it recorded on a whole VHS. That's how big the thing was. And we would just do it. watch them go back and forth and go, wha-bam, oh, and then we would play it back at a campsite at night on the youth retreats. We do it tubing. Some of you submit, but as much as you want to. Sometimes you come over here outside the permission land, but I'm still following. Wonk, wonk. Come out here outside the permission land. But listen, I'm still connected. And you're using my momentum to do whatever you dang well please. You're a rebel. And I hope the wake bites you. Because when you crash the first time slalom skiing, you're really nervous. I just want to stay right here and just get used to this. We have to arrange our lives in a military fashion behind a commander or a leader. Do you have a commander in your life? Do you have a leader? Are you the coach's best player? Even if you're not the best on the field, are you the best with team spirit? Are you the professor's best student? Even though you may not be the smartest, are you the one that helps the professor and is encouraging and says and is appreciative? Every leader in this church has those they wish were not even under them because they're a burden. And sometimes you're the guy driving the boat and you're like, get those hedge clippers, please. Cut that rope. Just saw it. I don't even want to pull them. They're wasting my momentum. They're bogging me down. When the term is not used in a military fashion and it is used more voluntarily, the definition becomes submission. Hupotasso is a voluntary attitude of giving in, cooperating, and assuming responsibility that results in the carrying of a burden. So you're not truly submitted if you're not carrying a burden. If you are a burden, you're not submitted. If you become a burden, you're not submitted because submitted people are not a burden. They carry a burden. Now there's a growth curve there. There's a learning curve there. When a boss hires somebody, they expect them to mess up. That's why they have insurance. They expect them to put them through training. They expect there to be some hiccups the first couple weeks, maybe the first couple months. But if after a year you're still a problem, you're not really submitted. We have to learn this so that God can promote us. Any stream of life, because we've talked about the streams of authority, and I guess I should back up there. The Bible says in Romans 13, all authority comes from God. The first realm of authority was ecclesiastical. It was God and Adam, chain of command, authority. Then God established family. Here's our next avenue or stream of authority. There's the husband, there's the wife, there's children, and then because of sin, civil government. So those are the only three realms of authority that proceed from the throne of God: ecclesiastical, familial, civil. Civil also becomes all sorts of governments and trade and commerce, etc. Family and ecclesiastical. Any one of those three major veins of your life that seem to be dead or dry, it's probably because you're not submitted. We would add education, employment over here to the civil realm. If this is drying up on you, you're not submitted to that stream of authority. If you'd submit to your boss, you'd obtain favor. If you'd submit to the professor, you'd obtain favor. If you'd submit to mom and dad, you'd obtain favor. If you'd submit to your husband, you'd obtain favor. If you'd submit to the ordinances of God in the local church, you'd obtain favor. So anywhere you feel like you're being resisted, anywhere your life is dead, dry, DOA, it's probably because you're not submitted. And it doesn't mean that you're just belligerent. It could be as simple as an attitude. This is dumb. That right there will kick you out of the flow. That'll throw you on the bank. Why do we got to do this? This is dumb. My husband's an idiot. Why would he ask me to do that? Mom and dad are stupid. The professor's a moron. I know more than the professor. That alone is rebellion. It's an attitude, and it's rebellious. All of our society runs on a social contract of submission to authority, and all submission has a reward. It's typically promotion, favor, advancement. All institutions in our life are built upon the hierarchy of authority. So all this anarchy, all this protesting, all this BLM is really hogwash, because even in the lawlessness of BLM, you still got to submit to them. Every anarchist movement has a hierarchy. There's always a chain of command. It's hypocritical because everything in life works on a hierarchy, which is an involvement of authority. No one in our life is equal because we all have different measures of authority and therefore require different levels of submission. So let me go back to the point we made last week or 2 weeks ago. What area of your life seems to be drying up? What doesn't have as much grace or as much favor or much promotion as it once did? Because that is an area you're in rebellion. And you may be showing up to the job on time, but it could be you're doing it with an attitude. You can make a widget, or you can make a widget with an attitude. You can drive a dump truck, or you can drive a dump truck with an attitude. Every once in a while you catch a YouTube video and it's like, watch this Amazon delivery guy get mad at the package. And I watched this the other day because it was so heavy. And he's on Ring camera, which is why we have the video. He just must have been a bad day, got chased by a couple of dogs. I don't know. He drags this thing out, he drops it. He's so mad, he just keeps stomping on it. And he goes to get in his truck and he comes back and stomps on it 2 or 3 more times. Just a box. He's just mad at it. He delivered it. I don't think he's keeping his job. I don't think he works anymore for them, because you can't do that. I delivered the box and you stomped on it 9 times like a brat. It was heavy. We give you a weight vest, a weight belt. You got it. It isn't about doing it. It's the attitude you're doing it with. Submission is an attitude of the heart. It's not about a warm body showing up. It's an attitude of the heart. And when you sit there and go, why don't I have to? You're already not submitting. This is dumb. That's why you haven't advanced. Just smile and go along, and God will promote you. Authority is the key to excelling in life, but there are only 3 ways to gain authority. Number 1, you can steal it. We call that usurpation or usurpation, and it'll make you a dictator. You can manufacture it. You can just make up a position, and we would call that a hireling preacher or a vagabond, or the biblical way is to submit to it. Without authority on your life, you cannot be promoted. Without authority flowing through your life, without you in a vein of authority, you can't be promoted. And hopefully you can understand that concept. The more you submit to the avenues of life, the more you'll be promoted. The more you can catch the vision. You guys know I work with the police. There's a whole new realm that has opened up to me that I have to submit to. I've had to learn protocol. I learned their expectations. I learned not to be the smartest guy in the room because I don't know what they're doing. I'm just there to be there for them. But the more I submit, the more I'm up there, the more I give my life to them, even when I don't know what they're doing or agree or disagree, don't know enough to disagree or to agree, the more favor it gives me, the higher up I go. I could be an idiot. I could be a know-it-all. I could say, well, I watched Cops before any of you cops were even born because I'm the oldest guy in all these rooms I'm in. It's trippy when all these kids who are cops could be your kid. Now, the cops have gotten to know me well enough. A lot of them call me Peepaw. I'm like, really? I have hit that age. Oh, yes, Peepaw. You and the other cop. That's the other Peepaw. He and I are the same age, so we just shake our head. They rag him. They're like, have you got your readers on? What? Is that your bad ear? And I mean, it's pretty brutal camaraderie. But to be old enough to be the father of almost all those cops, and I got to submit, and yet it gives me favor. Your life stinks because you don't submit. Just submit, it'll go well with you. Well, that just feels like control. What are you trying to do? What are the options? Your life is going nowhere. You're not in control. You're out of control. Just submit. Let somebody who knows what they're doing show you a thing or two. And it will go well with your soul. And honestly, you'll learn the more people you submit to, the higher your life goes. A lot of us make an idol out of one person to submit to, but there's other voices of authority God wants you to submit to so you can go higher. A thing becomes a cult when they're the only person you're allowed to submit to. A boss becomes a cult leader when he's the only person you can serve. A pastor becomes a cult leader when he's the only voice you can listen to. I'm telling you, listen to your professor. Listen to your boss. Listen to your cops. Listen to your mom and dad. Listen to ministers of the gospel. I'm telling you, listen to as many voices as you can that have authority in your life. That way your life will go higher. The cult arises when they exclude everybody else out of you, and they alone have the answers. I don't have the answers for your medical health. Listen to your doctor. I don't have the answers for your degree. Listen to your professor. I don't have the answers for your job. Listen to your boss. I don't want all that responsibility. Cult leaders are stupid, to come to think of it. Why would you want all that responsibility? I don't want it. You must realize every stream of authority God has currently placed us, recognize it and submit to it. Is your career sour? Judge your attitude. Is your marriage full of irritation? Do you submit and subject and prefer your partner? Are you frustrated at church? Do you even bother to submit to the vision, or you just come as a warm body? Have you lost any favor with your friends? How submitted are you to your friendships? So just so you know, and this is where I'll end. I just thought I'd give you all the different people I'm submitted to in my life because I live it. So if we start spiritually, I submit to Dr. Barclay. That's my pastor. I talk to him regularly, text him regularly. I call him on my way out of the country every time. I always call him from the airport, and he always answers. I said, Pastor, I'm headed overseas. Where are you going now, son? So-and-so. How long you be gone for? 2 weeks. Father, in the name of Jesus, we declare a successful, he just starts praying. All right, send me pictures, keep me informed, love you. Before I got this far in the ministry, I'd submit every trip I wanted to take to him because I don't want to die. I have a gospel mandate to take trips, go into all the world. It's gospel. I have a ministry calling to be a missionary. I still submitted every trip, probably the first 10 years, to Dr. Barclay. Then we'd even submit it to the elder boards. And sometimes the elders are like, well, I never felt good about that. Well, why did you say something? I remember Chad one time, I didn't feel good about that trip. Well, I canceled it. We lost a lot of money. Why don't you speak up, Chad? I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out my place in this whole thing. Well, next time, speak up. That's why you're an elder. I need your counsel. So I submit to the elder board. We meet once a month. Those guys come and go. We are always on a text thread together. I submit our major plans to them. If we're going to buy something, sell something, what we're wanting to do. We submit the annual budget to the elders. They have their input. They can see where all the money's going, and they're free to speak up. And what I love is they regularly disagree with each other and me, and we hold it in a healthy tension because I submit. Now, in the end, they don't steer the church. I do, but I listen to them. I have fathers in the faith that call me and correct me at any moment if they want to. And I submit things to them. Part of the other issue is that the older you get, don't expect people to chase you down. You've got to bring yourself under them regularly. Because if you're old enough, we'll just let you go do whatever you want to your own demise. I have a board of directors. That's our legal element. And my salary is determined by the board of directors. I don't even set my salary. I honestly don't even know what I make because my wife forges my paycheck. If I were to try to... We're streaming. They know you. At the bank, we've been going to the same bank our whole marriage, 17 years. They know her. I can't even sign my own checks. They'll think I'm forging it. Honey, they know you and trust you so well. You took them what they thought was a counterfeit bill, and they let you go home with it. Actually, let me just stop and say this. I had a $100 bill somebody gave me for pastor appreciation. She went to deposit it. The ATM kicked it back as counterfeit. So whoever gave me that $100 bill, I don't appreciate it. I don't appreciate your counterfeit appreciation. So then she took it in. She said, the ATM won't take this. So the lady runs it. She says, well, it's flagged as possibly counterfeit. So Amanda's like, well, what do I do with that? She said, well, I'm supposed to take it from you. And so Amanda's like, well, my husband won't be happy. She's like, well, you can take it and show him. So she gives the $100 bill back. That's how much they know us, because they'll let her walk off with counterfeit money. So we went and swapped it at Walmart. And that's not true. That's not true. AJ took it to our other bank who knows us very well, and they're like, it's not counterfeit, it just has tape on it, which is why it looks like it is. So it was all good. So I'm happy that nobody here gave me a $100 bill of false appreciation back in October. So whoever you were, you get to stay a member. But there will be interest next October. So I submit to my wife. She's able to speak up in my life and say, I don't feel good about that. You shouldn't do that. Even recently, I can be overseas every month if I want to be at this point. And I told her into last year or a couple months ago, I said, honey, I think coming January, I may be overseas every month for the first 5 or 6, 7 months. I could really do it. And I said, I'm really excited about it. And she said, yep, and you'll miss half of your kid's life. Yes, ma'am. Well, just start crossing trips off. My heart was already excited about Hyderabad, India in February, Nigeria in March, Albania in April. Just start crossing off trips. You're right. Thank you for the perspective. Thank you for rebuking me, because I'm submitted. And at the same time, submission allows us to keep being promoted. Final point. I made it before. I think the coolest, personal opinion, coolest, most free people in the world are astronauts, because they get to leave planet Earth. They escape gravity. They get to do it on taxpayer dollar, and they're paid to do it. But how many people did they submit to get there? How many pokes and prods, how many tests, how many exams, how many military instructors, how many NASA instructors, how many people yelling at them, correcting them, threatening to wash them out, and they submitted to all of it, took it all to the chin just to escape. That's probably, in my mind, the best example of how submission sets you free. And now, well, the guys up there now are not real happy because they're stuck till February, but they're floating around unencumbered by anything, literally. But they have to submit as well. Even up there, they submit to a daily regimen set by NASA. And the point is, the more you submit, the higher you go. The more you do your own thing, the more cookful you stay. That's all cookful has to offer you, is more cookful. So if you want to escape and go higher, find the authority God's already placed in your life and just pull yourself under them and say, what do you need me to do now? What do you see? Let me learn from you. And even if they're 10% wrong, you'll still be 100% blessed, because nobody's perfect in leadership.
Thank you for joining us today. We trust that the preaching has been a delight and blessing to your soul. Be sure to join us every Sunday and every Wednesday at 9 a.m. and 7 p.m. for the preaching of God's Word. For more information, contact our website at www.engraftedword.org.